Type in chat. All right. I guess Roy.
I hear you.
Good. Okay. Do we have anyone on YouTube?
Yep, we're good.
Okay.
Nobody's on at the moment.
Okay, let's begin. Pledge the allegiance. Pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Bob?
Bow our heads. Again, Father, we thank you for the sun that's brightened our day. We pray for those that are still en route. We pray for our mission to be accomplished as we've been taught. Give us guidance through your hand, Father, and be with those aviators who are in peril. Most of all, we just praise you in your glory.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming over. Tom, would you please speak for yourself?
Absolutely.
Who you are, why you're here?
Do you want me to stand up or am I okay?
Whatever, you can do it from
My
there.
name's Tom Edgar. I'm a member of the American Squadron. Been a CAP member for a couple of years now. I retired 2.5 years ago, and I failed at retirement because I'm back working full time again. But the hook got me and pulled me back in. But I originally got involved with CAP to get involved with the search and rescue emergency services. I am a pilot. But I got involved with Redwood Squadron because they were the closest to me. And they're a cadet squadron, as you guys know. I kind of want to do both. So I'd like to hang out with you guys a little bit and learn more what the senior side does.
Okay.
But I don't want to abandon those guys because Randall needs some senior members right now. So.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So thanks for.
All right. So let's start with a few agenda items I have prepared for today. We don't have our maintenance officers today. Mike is not feeling well. I don't know, Lon, why he's not here, but I think I know what's going on. So our aircraft 743 Charlie Papa is in maintenance for the week. It's grounded. First of all, it reached 100 hours, so it's due for regular maintenance, but it was taken for the mission to IPL, and while at the mission, the pilot noticed that the reading on manifold pressure is erratic, so he decided to abort the mission, and the aircraft was relocated back just a little shy of 100 hours. Anyway, the issue will be taken care of hopefully by end of the week, and we will have aircraft back in our availability hopefully before the weekend.
Did I catch you say that the manifold pressure was erratic?
Yeah.
What was the RPM doing?
I don't have the details. I got a call from Mike on Saturday asking if I feel comfortable bringing the aircraft back in case if they are not able to find a pilot who would fly it back. And the description was that it was showing in normal range but unreliable value. The engine was running smooth, so looks like
you have standard RPM. It's not, the RPM isn't changing. The manifold pressure shouldn't go up and down unless you got a bad sensor.
Yeah. So what shop told Mike is that most likely there was some deposit built up around the sensor, or maybe the sensor was going bad. So this happened to this aircraft before. The solution was just to clean that orifice where the sensor is installed, and it was back flying like no problem again. So I felt comfortable to fly it, but they figured it out. So the aircraft, I believe, is in maintenance. Any other questions on that? All right, moving on. So one update on Squadron matters related to letter of insurance. city requires us to provide the standard letter of insurance to demonstrate we have adequate level of liability, and there was ongoing problem with the letter stating specific things, not stating specific things rather, and Mike took care of it with the wing, and we finally received an okay from the city that the present form of the letter is perfectly fine. So thank you to Mike. Unfortunately, Mike is not here. Next item on public affairs. David, do you know who runs our Facebook page?
I am not sure who officially does it. I know I have access to it.
You have access
I
to
do
it.
have access.
Okay, good. We need to update a few things so we can. Oh. We just started a couple of minutes late, so so we would like to start posting some updates on the page, engage with public a little bit more, and we'll decide what kind of content we'll post, promotions for members, some events we are participating in, SARXs, etc. I think right now is a little bit stale.
Right.
So,
yeah, I haven't seen any real updates since our last SARX that we had.
Right. So we need to start welcoming new members, inviting members to join and follow the page, and so on and so forth. So that's something we need to really give a boost on PR, public relationship side. Same goes a little bit in line with that is our YouTube channel. So we'll chat later. Maybe we need to give it a more a name more aligned with who we are. So there is now extra few characters at the end of the name. So maybe we can rename it and call it either just Riverside Squadron 5 or Riverside Senior Squadron 5, something like that. And also make sure that we point to the correct official website for the squadron from all locations. We recently have established a new website, so let's be consistent on presenting ourselves. Good. Speaking of SARXs, there will be a SARX this weekend, actually at Fullerton. So, Jessica, if you are available and you feel ready, you should have a mail in your mailbox. If you don't, I can forward it to you. Yeah. Just reach out to the IC of the SARX and get yourself checked out. They should have sufficient number of mission pilots, both formal mission pilots and in training, to help you through the process. Okay. And you will meet a bunch of people there. Maybe you know some of them already. You will see Daniel Balderston. He's pretty easy to deal with. Tell him I referred you to him, and he'll help you navigate that process. Maybe I'll come over on Sunday, but not very likely. If you have any questions, if you have any kind of trouble, call me, text me, whatever, and I'll help you to get your things done. Okay? Okay?
Yeah, I'll try to. I think I'm supposed to fly on Saturday, so we'll see. But
Mm-hmm.
just getting
Okay.
The possibility of rain Saturday and Sunday.
Well, we'll see. The weather forecasts.
On the coast, inland, and everywhere else.
Hopefully, it will be flyable.
By Thursday, they'll have an idea what's taking place.
Good. So there was an email sent from Jose Tirona, I believe. He is the one running the show there. So find that email. Just search for SARX in the all recent emails, and you'll see it. Okay, good. Another kind of group-wide event coming up. There will be Southern California Homecoming Air Show at March Air Force Base, and Civil Air Patrol needs help. As a benefit, you'll get free access to the show, and actually you get fed, you get lunch. Maybe not the best lunch in your life, but it's free. the duties will include typical air show stuff, basically talking to people about civil air patrol, attending the civil air patrol tent, walking around, performing safety duties. There will be positions allocated through the show. The email about the show was from Jacob Gillette, First Lieutenant, and it was sent on February 2nd. So check it out. You definitely should have it in your mailbox.
Normally the cadets do crowd control.
Right.
Sell their flyers, the book, and they get some money out of that. For seniors, normally it's just a pull-up tent and display. I don't know if Ken Benner will have his cockpit there from a 172 that's workable. Got it from the Aero Club and put it on a trailer, and it seems doing that. And it's going to be Friday. Friday will be preliminary. Saturday and Sunday is going to be the air show, April 21st, 22nd.
So it's pretty far ahead. You have ability to plan around your schedule. Go for it. I've been to Pacific Air Show event. I liked it. It was a good event. People are very engaged and interested in what Civil Air Patrol does, and we need more members. So that's an opportunity to recruit people, and this location is perfect for us, actually.
The other
Much
thing
more
you
beneficial.
think about is the placement of an aircraft for display there.
Yeah.
And in the past, Squadron 5 has flown an airplane over. You're allowed to land there on prior approval. And because we're part of the Air Force, we don't have to worry about a lot of the permitting and air show stuff. So it goes on display, and it normally will leave anywhere between 5 and 6 in the afternoon on Sunday, fly it back.
All right. Yeah, it's a good event.
Placement will probably be on Friday.
And you don't have to be there all 3 days. So if you can allocate just 1 day out of those 3, let the organizer know when you can make it, and he will arrange the duties based on your preferences and availability of duties, of course. All right. So we already mentioned that it will be from April 22nd through 23rd, and the contact is Jacob Gillette. Now some interesting stuff. So Michelle, please come forward. I don't have it fully officially. I don't have my uniform, and you don't have your blues, but I'll shake your hands. Come on in, front and center. You don't have to march completely formally. We are not a cadet squad. Michelle, I promote you to First Lieutenant based on your professional background and based on your duties and responsibilities. Thank you for your service. Continue to be our valuable member. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, you got it right, Michelle. Yeah, and Roy, would you like to speak about my mission pilot promotion? Are you still there?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry, I had a mouthful of dinner.
Sorry to put you on the spot. I thought you would anticipate that.
Sorry about that. No, I had someone in my house until 5 minutes before the meeting started, so our dinner was late. So I'm sitting at my desk. At any rate, it would be a great pleasure to speak about your mission pilot achievement. So, ladies and gentlemen of Squadron 5, your leader has led the way and has become the first mission pilot in Squadron 5 in years. The first new mission pilot in years. Terry and I were trying to figure out when the last mission pilot was made in the squadron, and it has been a while. So, as far as the actual flight, 1 hour of oral and brief that Andre gave, which was excellent, followed by 2 hours of almost unendurable, horrific punishment in the air. And I think he had a hard time too. But anyhow, it was an excellent flight. The only difficulty was his inability to understand my accent. So apparently, the Texas accent was a difficulty. Now, seriously, Andre did an outstanding job, and he's become a new standard by which I will judge mission pilots coming to me or prospective mission pilots coming to me. It's a good flight, good day to fly. I went after flying with Andre, flew 2.5 more hours, so I made the most out of that day. But I would encourage all of you, anybody Squadron 5 is a flying squadron, or that is what we have always been. And if you're not aircrew of some kind in a flying squadron, there's a little disconnect there, right? And I cannot think of anything that people would want to aspire to more than becoming a mission pilot and to do the job that we do. So if you are leaning that way, for goodness sakes, reach out to me, Terry or Andre, and let's get you down that road and get you flying. Congratulations, Andre. Outstanding job. Well flown, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Roy. It was a true pleasure flying with Roy, and he was a great mentor. I had second opportunity to fly side by side with you, Roy, and enjoyed every minute of that 2-hour flight past Saturday. So it was great. And as of yesterday, I'm actually through the approval ranks, and I'm officially a mission pilot. Thanks so much. Yeah, and as a part of today's emergency services, what I want to do, I want to share my experience, what it took me to prepare for that, and what was the oral all about, and how I prepared for the brief, what I have used as a study material, and so on and so forth. So, and I'll be happy to answer any questions for new pilots coming aboard. For you, Jessica, specifically, you're probably the closest one to get to that point. And for any new members who are willing to join the ranks of mission pilots. That's really when you start appreciating being part of a flying squadron. You get to fly real missions. You get to go places and meet more people, learn more and more about aviation and flying skills. So go for it. Don't let the bureaucratic barriers and policies and procedures to stop you. Honestly, there were times I was thinking if it's worth it because it's a long flight. You already have a pilot license, and then you have to prove that you can act as a scanner. You can be a mission observer, then you have to really get checked out in a more thorough way. But there is a justification to everything we do, right? So safety being one of them. And I think when you get trusted with aircraft, which is close to $1 million worth of money of our government, I mean, we have to really get an extra effort and prove that we can take care of that aircraft, and moreover, we can take care of people who become our air crew on any kind of missions we go. And really, Terry, Mike, everyone in this squadron helped me tremendously. Roy, most recently, it's been great. So, but if you don't ask for help, you're not gonna get any. You like to fly, you want to get your mission pilot qualification, ask for help. Don't get stalled. Don't get stalled by simple things like you cannot pass whatever the test on Access on online learning management system. Reach out to me, reach out to Chris, reach out to Mike, to Terry, to every single member of the squadron, and just ask for help. Send an email, call me. I'm available. I don't think anyone will ever fail to reach out to me. So, that said, I will describe the scenario, what we went through. Roy, is it okay? Or is it your secret sauce?
Let her rip.
All right. So, basically, let's talk briefly about prerequisites, right? So, and I'll share the op qualifications on the screen. Yes. So first of all the prerequisites, everything is on the website. But I'll just show, based on my ops qualifications, what it should look like for you to be ready, right? So what are the prerequisites you have to complete? I'll start sharing on the screen as well. Not now. Teams wants to update something. Okay, so you are all familiar with e-services by now. You should be. And if you're not, again, ask for help. So your primary area of interest is operations qualifications. So what comes first? Well, first of all, you need to prove you can fly an airplane, right? So you go to operations qualifications and you click on this red little thing, and then you scroll down and you go to FAA requirements. That's your first stop. That's where you begin basically your journey. And there you get on this page. So you check off some boxes here. So you check off private, or whatever you have, whatever you already possess, check it off. If you have ATP, great, perfect. If you have instrument, go for it. Then if you have an instructor rating, whether it's active or pending, again, specify it here. We need instructors by all means. Next thing is medical. Check off what is your current medical class. Is it FAA medical? Is it special issuance? Is it military? Whatever. And when was your last medical date? If you fly under basic medical, it's perfectly fine. Do the same. Just check off the right boxes, give the right dates, and upload the basic medical course certificate. If you have basic medical military waiver, go for it here. Doesn't apply to me. You need to specify your most recent flight review date. You check off this box, punch the date, and then once you complete going over this form, you click submit. What's important, you need to have high performance aircraft endorsement, and you need your complex aircraft training too. So you check, if you have those, check off those boxes, and then once you click submit, you'll need to upload proof that everything you stated actually you have in your possession. So after that, you go to view and upload documents. Here you are interested in pilot tab. So you click this drop box, and you basically find everything you mentioned earlier in this drop box. You specify, for example, FAA flight review. How you prove you have a FAA flight review? You should have an endorsement from your CFI in your logbook, or maybe a certificate from flight school. Just take a photocopy, PDF, JPEG, whatever, and make it available on your computer, or if you can do all of that from the iPad, and you upload it. So you basically choose file, find the location of that, and hit it in. So the system changes the file names, so be aware of that. So you may have whatever file name you choose to, but the system will rename it. So for your FAA pilot certificate, it will give it a name FAA certificate. For flight review, it will give it its own name, etc., etc. So all in all, you should have at least, to begin with, you should have FAA certificate. You should have your high performance endorsement, optional, right? But if you don't have it, you'll have to do it within Civil Air Patrol. It's possible. You'll have to chase the Civil Air Patrol instructor and get the program going. You'll need to show some persistency right there. That's the opportunity actually to get accustomed to CAP aircraft and be more prepared for the Form 5 check ride. You will need your pilot experience logbook report. So you basically, you can generate the report. I have my logbook electronic, so it's super easy. You just hit experience report to specify the period for which you generate the report, and it produces the PDF. You just upload it and boom, it's there. Once you complete all of those steps, you uploaded the documents, let someone in our leadership know, myself, Mike, Terry. We will go in, we'll review it, and we'll approve your credentials. We actually look at what you uploaded and make sure the name matches your name, and you get what you claim to have, right? Yes.
If you don't have the electronic logbook, can it be done just off a picture?
You can, yes, you can scan it, take a PDF, scan to PDF, or you can actually create your own logbook. There is no particular requirement how the report on experience look like, right?
Would you just need the latest page that shows what your total hours and
That
and
would be
landings
fine.
are?
So
You don't have to go
you
through
don't
everything,
have
just the
to,
latest page.
yeah, but if
Yeah.
you have certain number of, let's say, high performance and so on and so forth, and your logbook, paper logbook may not reflect it, then you may need to take certain pictures from your logbook showing that you have
One of the
an-
high performance
right.
environment, one of the complex environments, right?
And if in any shape and form you actually engage in flying and you progress in your ratings, etc., it's good to have it in electronic form. You get through the pain converting it once, and you forget about it. You'll just carry on with it. Yes.
Do you have to fill out the whole form at one time, or can you fill out part of it? For example, like right now, if I were to fill this out, but I don't recall the exact date of my last flight review, I know I'm current with it, but I don't know the date and ask for it. Can I fill it out up to that point? And
As soon as you find it, you don't have to upload everything in one shot.
okay.
So whatever information you have available, put it in, because it takes time for us to review it and approve it anyway.
Oh, so you can actually just put submit and then go back. And
Yeah, you can go
Mhm.
back and submit something
And
else.
then update the information more.
Right.
Okay.
It's just unless we have actual flight review on record, we cannot let you go flying. Like any flight club or flight rental school, whatever.
You can just do an Excel program too, and do it on a yearly basis, put it into a file.
Yeah,
All you gotta do is put the date and what you've done and how many hours, and whether it's
absolutely.
CAP or for friendly, whatever you do.
The flight logbook doesn't have to be fancy, right? It has to reflect the real information, and it's your responsibility as a pilot to put it in, right? So it is as good as you make it to be. We, as a private pilot, not required to maintain the flight log for every flight. We just have to demonstrate that we maintain currency. But for purpose of civil patrol, at least counting your hours is critical, right? And you have to be able to prove it. So I chose to convert to electronic logbook, and I use 4Flight for that. And 4Flight generates track log, and all I have to do is just punch in few missing elements, and I'm done. And I can produce a current report at any point of time. Okay, so that's your first step. So once you prove you are actual pilot, then next step under op qualifications would be to go and go to mission pilot, right? So what are the prerequisites for the mission pilot? In my case, I already have this completed, but you will have a lot of blank spots here. So, okay, no, I think I have to go here, prerequisites. So, and the prerequisites, you'll see for every step you take, it tells you exactly what you need. So you have to have so many for the check pilot mission. Check pilot, it's different requirements, but you need to have so much PAC hours. For cadet orientation pilot, you have to have certain things checked off. For G1000 training, you have to have certain things checked off to actually get the G1000 check box covered during your Form 5, and so on and so forth. So basically, here is your guide, but also on our Squadron website, you have all the information available. Terry prepared like a very straightforward document you can follow, and again, ask for help anytime you feel like you need one. We are here to help you get through these hurdles, right? So don't get stuck. Without help, you will be unstuck real quick. Okay.
I have zero. I'm a steam gauge pilot, so to get some G1000 experience, are there any simulators around?
Actually, we do. We have it right behind behind our room.
What's that?
30 feet that way.
Yes, it's right here, and it's barely being used, but it's outdated. But it's good enough for you to, turn the knobs and get around. Yeah.
My head's not out of the cockpit. Not in the cockpit.
So once you check off all those points, you need to cover a couple of items. You need to go to your Squitter, SQTR entry worksheet, and you need to get some achievements done. So first, you need to get your mission scanner done. And Jessica is actually working on it. You are not far, right?
I think I have like one preview left.
Yeah, so you need to get one mission, right? So that Sarex is perfect for you. Just get there at least for a day. Hopefully the weather is good, and knock it off. So my Squitter looks like this because I'm already a mission scanner, and it shows that my expiration date is February 2026. I have a long way to go. While you're doing it, and not to get bored, I also get to know people and fly in a real aircraft in the right seat, get to know the procedures up close and personal. I highly recommend you all to get done mission observer qualification. It's not a lot in addition to a mission scanner. You basically, as a pilot, if you are a pilot, you know most of it already. You know how to operate the radio. You just learn how to operate CAP radio, and you learn how to operate a DF, direction finder. Super easy and intuitive. Yes, Michelle?
But according to this, it looks like you have to have your mission scanner done first before you can actually even go into the approval for the prerequisite submission.
Yes, for mission observer, you have to have mission scanner done. So unless you have mission scanner, you cannot do mission
It can't be
observer.
done concurrently.
Concurrently, you can learn concurrently,
Oh, okay.
and actually, it's basically mission air crew reference text. You can download the PDF. It's all kind of in the standard flow. Basically, it builds up. And again, to be mission observer, don't misunderstand. You don't have to be a pilot. Okay, it's a little more for you to learn if you want to become one, and you'll be a great help to Chris when you fly two of you on your other aircraft, because you'll be able to offload a lot of tasks from him. He'll be flying the aircraft, you'll be talking on the radio, for example. It's a great experience building the experience and proficiency in aviation. So you can help Chris tremendously. You can get ATIS information ahead of time. You can talk to ATC and so on and so forth. You don't have to be a pilot to do that. All right. So under mission observer, and I'm not the best example because we would need to punch in someone else to see what are the requirements. But basically, all of them have like aircraft ground handling as prerequisite. Because you get around aircraft, you have to be safe about it. You have to know how to deal with it properly. one additional prerequisite for mission observer is ICAT. So you have to know how to do communications the civil air patrol way. You have to be efficient. You have to know how to operate the CAP radio, how to actually maintain the communication protocol, be precise, specific on what you are trying to say, and respectful, right? And also from OPSEC perspective, if you act as an observer, you have to follow OPSEC requirements. Don't say what you're not supposed to say on open radio waves, right? So nothing really big, but at least if we are in a real search and rescue situation, we don't want media to get there before us, right, and crowd the space. So things like that. All right. So once you check those out, so that your next step will be actual, let's say, mission transport mission pilot. That's another good step to get done. Once you complete it, it's not that it's actually once you are on board as VFR pilot, to get your transport mission pilot approval is just actually PIC hours. So once you get certain level of PIC hours, and you do need to have IS 100 and 700 done. That's done in self-paced environment at your home, and just allocate time, sit, go through the study material, answer the questions, and you get your certificate. You upload that certificate following the same upload documents process, and you are done. Once you reach 200 hours PIC, you can actually apply for mission pilot. And there you need some extra study to do. Well, I'm done with it, so it doesn't show much. But let's use you, Jessica. Which your cup ID? 682-559. Okay, so you can see what's required. So you do need to have mission scanner. You do need to have your transport mission pilot prerequisite done. And of course, you have to be a VFR pilot. That will be your first step. You would need to have at least one of these. So actually minimum requirement is PIC 175 to get into training process for mission pilot. Then you basically check off this box, and I will give you an approval to continue, right? So I'll check that you have the prerequisites, and I'll just click a button and you'll be ready to go. After that, you will study this book, and basically you'll cover those specific tasks like 02003 grid sectional charts. So you'll have to know how to chart the grid on the map. We don't do that. We actually have it on iPad, but understanding the logic behind it is a huge help. It's straightforward, easy to do, and I can help you training for that. I'm not a SET, so I cannot validate your knowledge. For that, you will set an appointment with either Roy or Terry. Terry is local, so it's easier to do with him. And you maybe spend an hour going over this task with him. In fact, Mike also can check you off for the FAM and prep part. Mike cannot do your practical tasks because he is not a current mission pilot, but he can validate your knowledge. And once you finish, all these boxes become green. You again check off this one and submit, and I will approve you for the next step. I will go here, validate that you actually worked with a real set for the mission pilot, and you will move on to the actual advanced training. The actual advanced training is super easy. Actually, you can cover it all in one flight. If you prepare for everything. In my case, it was 2 flights. So one flight we dealt with non-ELT related stuff, and another one we actually prosecuted the practice ELT beacon. Mike set one up at the premises of the airport, and first I found it with Mike on the ground, and then we went flying, and Terry explained and make sure I understand how to prosecute the LT beacon from the air. And we don't do it a lot in real life these days, but it's a part of the requirement, and actually it's kind of fun. So you do need to have ICAD, Introduction to Communication. Why is that? Well, mission observer is not a prerequisite for mission pilot, but you may be a mission pilot on a real mission and you don't have a mission observer, or the mission observer never have flown a mission, is not proficient, and you'll have to deal with those tasks by yourself. So that's why, essentially, in my opinion, you have to go through the mission observer first before you become a mission pilot. Makes it a lot easier, and just kind of natural flow. And after that, you have to do 2 actual trainee exercises. So one of the trainee exercises, in my case, was dealing with non-LT stuff. The other one was dealing with LT stuff. So I have covered one during the SAREX out of Whiteman, and I have covered the other one with Terry here locally at Riverside. Okay. And then Terry, if he is your trainer for mission pilot, will tell you if you are ready or not. And if you are not ready, you can fly extra proficiency flights in specific scenarios. Make sure you are comfortable navigating to the grid, flying specific search patterns, doing it by magnetic compass rather than by GPS. So basically, you know what is your heading, deduct the variation, and you'll know what course to fly for how many minutes. Once you're ready, you will have to schedule a check ride with one of the SATs for mission pilot, and we have in our squadron Roy as a SAT for mission pilot and Terry as a SAT. So if you train with Terry, you cannot fly a check ride with him again. You have to fly with another check pilot. So that's why I flew with Terry for practice purposes, and then for check ride I flew with Roy. Any questions? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Roy.
Just to clarify some terminology and understanding. I'm a SET for mission pilot, mission observer, mission scanner. Mike, I think, is probably a SET for mission pilot, mission observer, mission scanner. I'm not sure about mission pilot, but I'm a mission check pilot, which means that I'm specifically given the ability to give a pilot a check ride. Squadron 5 does have 2 of those, me and Terry. Terry is a mission check pilot examiner, which means he can make more mission check pilots. So being a SET is not the same as being a mission check pilot, just to
Correct.
be clear.
That's good clarification, Roy. Appreciate it. So for all theoretical matters related to knowledge on mission pilot qualifications, you can work with Mike and with Terry. Roy is more challenging because he's far in Fallbrook, but you have 2 of those resources here at the squadron, and it's enough for you to be prepared. And actually with Terry you can actually fly and practice all of this in actual training mission. It doesn't have to be at SAREX. That's very important to understand. You don't have to go to SAREX to get checked out, to get trained. We have a running mission for a whole year funded. Once you are cleared for mission pilot training, you just need to find time and find the person who will work with you. Okay, and I can cover quickly how that is done. So a quick reminder, we have this PCR mobile app, which is not really an app, it's actually a website. And on our squadron page, we also have a link to that. Let me put it up on screen. All right. So can you see it on Teams? All right. So here on our Squadron website, and every squadron these days, at least in a group, migrated to the new format, so we all have same structure. You basically go to PRMA. It's a website, and take that link for PRMA and make a shortcut on your mobile phone, and it will look like an app. So that's why we call it. It's an app, but it's not. It's actually a web page. And here you log in with your COG CAP email credentials, right? Oh, sorry. I didn't realize it's already there. Okay, so once you log in, you click on California and you have a lot of buttons. So what do you need? First, in your operation, you need a set. So you click on a set list and you can look by the unit. And then you click on group 3, and then you click on Squadron 5, and that's your primary resource for that. Clear it. And see how much knowledge we have. You have pretty much anything you need for the search and rescue qualifications. You have Mike, who can help you with the radio. You have Terry, Roy, Lon. Between those 4, you can cover all the bases right here at the squadron. You need to go outside of the squadron to get your Form 5 done, because we don't have, unfortunately, check pilots for Form 5 at the squadron. But we have number of check pilots, and we have number of instructors available both at group level and in nearby groups. So again, if you have trouble finding them, let me know. But Trent Ferris as an instructor is a great resource. He's very easy to deal with, super easy to schedule time. And he told me recently he becomes even more available because he quit his job and he's open for more flying. So use it, chase him down, and get your Form 5 done. That's your first step.
Where's he? Is he part of the squadron?
No, he is part of a Hammett squadron, but many times he just flies in from Hammett on his club aircraft, and I went flying with him. Shane Telekarat, I don't know, TK, Shane TK. He's a Delta pilot, but he's whenever he's not flying, he's super easy to pick him up and to go flying with him. Then Brad Wind out of John Wayne is very easy to work with. So I personally recommend these 3 for your instructor pilot. And for the check pilot, we have options. I flew with 2 people. One was a gentleman from Santa Monica, Robin Kim. He happened to be doing check Form 5 here at Riverside, and I just piggybacked on his availability right after his Form 5. I went and flew with him on Zelda. And after that they took it from us. I had to I had to train for Garmin 1000. And then I flew with older gentleman. He's somewhere from I forgot his name, escaped my mind. Anyway, I have his contact information, so I can give it to you. Was very easy to schedule time and fly. I would not advise flying with Trent's son, because A, I couldn't get a hold of him, so he's super busy, and B, from what I've heard, he's a little bit too detailed oriented, so he can fail you for maybe not very reasonable things. In his mind it's reasonable, right? So after all, he signs you off, but many people said he was a little bit too demanding. The right word. Okay, So let's go to the fun part. We have 10 minutes left. So I'll tell you what was the scenario, and I'll show you how I briefed it in Wimmers. So a few days before the check write on Form 91, Roy sent me actual scenario. And let me just have a little bit pile of emails. I need to find it. There we go. Okay. So the scenario was like this. Cessna 172, November 9er 353 Echo, with 2 people on board, is overdue on a flight. It's impossible to read, so I'll just read it for you. See if I can zoom in. Increase font size. So for those online and maybe reading off screen, you'll be able to follow. Okay, so I was overdue on a flight from Prescott, Arizona, KPRC to Montgomery Field, KMYF. The aircraft left at approximately 1900 hours and never arrived at its destination. The airplane was being ferried and did not have a DSB or MOD-C transponder. An intermittent radar track was last seen at this location, which we will refer as last known position. There was also a weak ALT heard briefly in the vicinity of Blackington Airport to Charlie Alpha 4. The pilot was 400-hour non-instrument rated pilot who is based at KPRC. The passenger is the pilot's cousin and non-pilot. The weather was clear, light winds out of the west at 10 knots. There was a marine layer forming along the entire coast from KSNA to the Mexican border during the hours that the flight was attempted. Your air crew is a mission observer who has flown approximately 6 times since getting his wings 2 years ago. This is his second real mission. He is a 60-year-old cookie salesman and not a pilot. His weight, and he has 10 pounds of flying gear. So these are kind of generic information, right? So you can pick some details out of it. So key here is to really narrow down to what's important, right? So then we just bypass it for a moment and go to what was the assignment. And the IC incident commander assigned to you to investigate the area where the ALT was heard and DF to the target if a signal is picked up. So that's important, right? So we need to prosecute the ALT as a mission pilot. That's our task. So ideally, as a mission pilot, you fly to that area of ALT prosecution and let the mission observer do the job. But important information here is that the mission observer is not very proficient, so the expectation is that the mission pilot will do some of those tasks. Once the ALT is identified or not, right? So it's not identified obviously since we are continuing, but in our training scenario we did find it. But maybe it was a false ALT and it was at the airport and whatnot, so it wasn't relevant to specific aircraft missing. So we will fly to the grid in which the last known position is located and search that grid using a parallel track search. So important to understand that yes, we will have to get to the grid. The IC doesn't tell us how we get to the grid. IC doesn't tell us much, but they tell us you need to use the parallel track search. Usually, you as a mission pilot and observer together decide what is the best applicable search pattern for specific mission, and you discuss it in a briefing with the IC. But since it's a training mission, the purpose of the training mission is to see if mission pilot can actually fly all or most track pattern. Then basically, after we search the grid using the parallel track, we will fly at least one point based search using the LKP as a starting point. So basically, we searched this expanding square once we got to the last known position. And then fly the creeping line search from the northwest corner of the grid for 5 miles in the direct course to the base airport, to Fallbrook. So we have communication and discussed here, not in a orthodox way, but basically we have a Riverside base, and Mike was acting as a Riverside-based comms officer on Romeo 62 frequency, CEP radio, and we had to report engine start, wheels up, top and bottom hour ops normal calls, RTB, wheels down, all of the stuff, any findings, etc. Well, there was also an information that potentially we could have electromagnetic interference, which could have rendered electronic equipment momentarily unusable. So what does it mean? So we could have some kind of failure in flight, right? And we should be available to deal with it. And the rest is not relevant for the mission, but rather relevant for me preparing for that. So how to get to the base and so on and so forth. The aircraft was 182 with Garmin 625 round dial, and Garmin 625 didn't have the functional navigation card, so it was essentially flying by visual references and flying heading, time it, turn, standard rate turns, etc. Now I'll show what the Wimmer's briefing looked like. So that was done under the mission 23 Alpha 3001. I had to prepare the sortie for that mission. So I scheduled the aircraft, I put it on here. So that was the mission. I set it up. Of course, I'm not changing anything. So based on location of LKP, I identified that the grid was LAX 306 Alpha, and basically that's part of the briefing here. So estimated time of departure, estimated time of arrival. This is already post debrief information, so it's not relevant for initial setup. So I specify, of course, that I am a PIC and a mission pilot, and Roy is a mission check pilot, but he was acting also as an observer for the scenario. After that, you do your RAM risk management chart. It turned out to be low. It was beautiful day to fly. When we departed, the winds were light variable, and when we came back, the winds were about 10 across the field. So it was interesting landing in that short airport with 10 knots crossing. That was my third landing there, so it was fun.
What airport was that?
Fallbrook.
Oh, Fallbrook.
Yeah, Roy calls it ISS Fallbrook. US.
I think it's 2,100 feet.
Yeah. And first time was super interesting. Second time during this mission it was okay. And I went practice some short field landings first. Okay, so then you go and you brief it. In the briefing, basically it generates the form 104 once the briefing is complete. So you specify all the details from the information Roy gave me. I had to decipher it and put it in the right places. So here we have our area of operation in the vicinity of Fallbrook Airport and Julian VOR, the so on and so forth, the base telephone, which is essentially Mike's phone number, the base call sign, Riverside base. So when I talk on a frequency, or observer talks on a frequency to the base, that's how they call them out. The base frequency, air-to-air frequency is in the area. It's North San Diego practice area. So lots of aircraft. Was busy. So I'll show you the tracks shortly, how it went. was a lot of loops, just avoiding the other aircraft in the area. So here basically sortie objectives is what's important. So it's a Form 91 check ride, it's a simulated search and rescue, and all specific points from IC requirements, right? What IC wants us to do. So sorted deliverable in our case, it's a Form 91. And actions to take is basically plan the flight, brief, execute, and debrief. Route of flight as briefed, altitude assignments and restrictions 1000 feet AGL, airspeeds expected and restrictions, basically 90 knots ground speed, or well, we were flying mostly 90 knots airspeed, indicated airspeed. We don't have any other aircraft in the area, and any emergency alternate fields I have identified in the area of operations. The weather was perfect VFR. The risk assessment was low, and instructions basically plan, brief, use all available resources, including CRM, calculate takeoff and landing distances, which is required for all SAR missions, and specifically for check ride, we have to demonstrate we can do that. And again, go back to PRMA, that app, which is not an app but a web page. They can calculate it for you. All you have to do is find the right aircraft, identify which airport you are going to, and it will calculate based on the load what will be the takeoff and landing distances for that airport. That's it. And we went through all of those. That took an hour. Basically, we discussed majority of the aircrew reference task as it relates to mission pilot. What are the requirements in different scenarios? We went over the briefing and decided that we are ready to go. We pre-flown the airplane and took off. So now I'll show you what the truck looked like. Let's see. Mike was watching us from the ground. I need to find his email. Well, Roy sent a flight aware picture. That's what it looked like on flight aware, all the loops. So initially we went and searched the LT in this area. Some of these turns were to avoid the aircraft, and these few loops is when we actually found it, and we were trying to identify more precisely where it was located. After that, we took off, we went to the grid. We identified the northwest corner of the grid. In my opinion, the northwest corner of the grid was easiest to identify by pilotage because it was a lake, and the corner of the grid was right at the delta of the small river which goes into the lake. From there, we basically flew the top of the grid, the north side of it, and we had an engine failure here. So that's why there is a loop here. After that, we went to the it was supposed to be parallel track search. We only did one line on that parallel track. After that, we identified the last known position. We flew around that, and then we executed the expanding square. It's really hard to see here, but it did look like that on my forward flight. I didn't prepare to show it. And then we flew from that position. We flew the creeping line search for a little while, and then reported back to the base and returned. So it was fun flying. Coming back, the wind again picked up, and it was 10 knots crosswind landing. I simulated go around just to demonstrate I can deal with it. Although I came pretty well stable from the first attempt, and second attempt we landed, debriefed, and went home. So was fun day, and I really wish you pilots to get it done soon too. Questions? All right. Well, no questions. The meeting is over then.
On your expanding search, did you start at 30 seconds or 1 minute?
For purpose of exercise, 1 minute, but it would depend on environment, the mission objectives, etc. 30 seconds could be more beneficial in some scenarios.
If you want to fly it closer, you have to cut the speed down or cut the time down.
Yeah.
So you go 30, minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. You get it much closer. You do a double search when you start doing that. Much closer together.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, thank you, Roy. Much appreciate your mentorship and guidance, and look forward to fly with you soon.
And likewise, would you say that that was an easy ride?
No, it wasn't easy, but
Okay.
I enjoyed
My
every
point.
minute of it.
Yeah, there you go. So being a mission pilot isn't for everybody, and that's fine. If you're going to do it, there's an expectation of skill and accountability, taking responsibility, and so on. And so hopefully all of you will be doing what Andre just did. And congratulations, good flight.
Thank you so much. A reminder, practice pilotage as much as you can, because we are getting used to ForeFlight and all the modern navigation tools, and we forget the actual fun of flying the airplane by simple visual reference and timing your progress from point to point. And once you go through all of this, focus on basic rule of thumb calculations. You have your ground speed. Why we maintain a ground speed of 90 knots? Well, it's easy to do math, right? So it's you cover about 1.5 miles in 1 minute. So here you go. So you just click a timer, and you know exactly when you reach the other corner of the grid, if you time it right. And then turning based on magnetic direction versus GPS. GPS may fail, but you still have your compass and your watch, so you can still fly from point A to point B. And if you perform standard return, it creates a perfect expectations for you, Jessica. Is not a big deal since you're instrument rated pilot. It's already embedded in you flying those things, but
GPS will fail. All electronics fail.
So that's my thing now. I'm trying to get more proficient on seeing gauges. It's different.
well,
All electronics fail.
It's doubled.
Yeah,
well, Mario,
Always carry
Roy, thank you
charts.
so much. We are
absolutely.
closing this up.
Always got those papers.
You know something? I plan every flight out on paper, in addition to my iPad. Everyone.
Well,